even though it was not unexpected because she was 103 when she died, I wasn't prepared. I knew that I would experience grief. I was prepared for that. I've had losses before in my life, and I actually understand how to grieve effectively. But something else happened about 3 weeks after my mom died that I wasn't prepared for, and it was a very difficult experience. After my mom died, I emptied out her apartment that she'd been living in, and I brought home her chair, the chair that she sat in for years and years and did her knitting and her reading and such. And it really felt like a bit of her. I could imagine her sitting in it, and when I sat in it, I could almost feel like her arms were around me. I know that might sound a little silly, but it was comforting to me anyway. And I had been doing a lot of grieving in that chair. But this one morning was different. I was thinking about her and how much I missed her. But then I started noticing some other thoughts that were creeping in, like, what am I going to do without her? How am I going to survive without her? I'm not going to make it. What's the point of going on? And when I heard myself talking like that, I thought, wait a minute. Wait just a doggone minute. What is this? And that's when I found out firsthand what a grief hijacker is. Something had taken this pure experience of mourning a terrible, devastating loss and had twisted it into something that it wasn't. I have, there's no reason for me to be thinking I can't carry on without my mother, that life is hopeless, that I'm helpless, that I'm powerless without my mother. These thoughts they just weren't true. And this is the devastating thing. I was thinking about it later, that I was really very fortunate because I know about hijackers. I've been working with people's hijackers for a long time. And so when I started hearing that hijacker voice, even though, and let me make this perfectly clear, it sounds like my voice. It does. It sounds like I'm thinking these thoughts. But even though the voice is mine, those thoughts do not belong to me. They are not true thoughts. And that's what's so devious about this hijacker phenomena that I like to talk about, because it creeps up into a legitimate frame of mind and it starts to twist it, just a little at a time, just a little bit at a time. And so you maybe don't even notice it. And suddenly you find yourself in this downward spiral where you're sinking lower and lower into the pit of despair, of hopelessness, helplessness, powerlessness, that is a really difficult trap to get out of. It's like quicksand. There's nothing solid under there to stand on to begin to climb out because there's no truth in it. And that was the worst morning for me. But because I understood about the hijackers, I didn't get too far down the spiral before I stopped it. And that's why I feel so excited to talk to you today about this hijacker, because when you understand it, it will lose its power over you as well. Now, in science, the fight or flight mechanism that we talk about, and then this freeze mechanism are very activated by these kinds of thoughts. I can't make it. I'm not going to survive. This is the very thing that lights up your nervous system to say danger. And when that happens, the blood goes out of your frontal brain and down into your arms and legs and prepares you to flee. And if it continues farther than that, it goes into this freeze thing that we've been talking about, where there's no repair mechanisms or there's no immune functioning. A freeze is a freeze. And so it's a very difficult condition for you to be healthy in, because the mechanisms that keep you healthy are scaled way down so that this freeze mechanism holds you in almost like a paralysis. And this is why you can find yourself, if you go too far down in this spiral of not wanting to get out of bed and really being quite disabled, not so much because of what happened physically, although physical things have happened, but it's this spiral in your mind that is really locking this freeze stance, if you will, in place. And that's what's dangerous. So this week I was researching this idea of resilience, and a cardiologist, wonderful cardiologist, has written a book about resilience and captured a bunch of her research about what it is that makes people resilient. And in these days and times, resilience is a very important quality to cultivate. So the thing that I wanted to bring to you today is that part of her research demonstrated that people that have a developed sense of purpose don't find themselves caught in this freeze frame for very long. The sense of purpose is connected to what I like to call your living flame, that part of yourself that's deeply and eternally alive, that's expressing through your body into your life. And because it's eternally connected to your very beingness, if you will, it isn't something that can be extinguished. But loss, disappointment, failure, betrayal, the circumstances of life that are so difficult, they can begin to pile over that flame until you don't feel connected to it anymore. And it leaves this sense of feeling empty inside. Like, is this all there is? What's happened to my life? Why do I feel so apathetic? Why don't I care about anything anymore? And this is, quite a crisis. It's oftentimes called a midlife crisis. And it can go on way beyond midlife if you don't interrupt it, because these are patterns of thinking. At least this is part of it, is these thinking patterns, what I call the neural pathways. And the more that you use them, I'm hopeless, I'm helpless, I'm powerless, and you activate those neural pathways that are triggering this fight or flight or freeze mechanism, then you lose this sense of aliveness that is so powerful in terms of inspiration and motivation and passion and vitality and radiance and joy and love. The things that make life worth living are all connected to this flame, this biological flame that also lives in the emotions and in the thoughts and in the spirit. So it's very important that we learn how to reconnect to the living flame on a daily basis. And if it's gotten covered over, then it's very important to excavate it. And that's work that I've done for myself. So I know firsthand how powerful it is to feel that flame bursting back into life and fanning it and letting it get brighter and brighter and brighter until it really begins to reach into your environment and it touches people. And other people can feel that there's something about you that's different, and it's attractive. It's a magnetic quality. And then there's another physiological connection that's important to talk about, and that is the microbiome, the gut bacteria. Now, who would have thought? But our gut bacteria can change in a matter of hours, and bacteria that is enlivened by the living flame is very different than bacteria that's enlivened by the fight or flight response. They're not genetically the same, they don't serve the same function. And so, as you cultivate aliveness, the microbiome that you cultivate is healthy. And when you fall into fight or flight or freeze, the microbiome that gets cultivated in that is less healthy. And so this is something that's been researched as well. And grief tends to activate the fight or flight and the freeze microbiome. So while grief is an appropriate and powerful experience, it's best if we learn how to let grief wash over us like a wave. This is what happened for me when my husband died. I learned that if I didn't fight it, that the grief would wash over me and it would lift me up like a wave and it would put me on the other shore. Grief would hit me on the shore where I felt separate from my husband, but when I allowed it to carry me, it would lift me up like on a wave and it would put me on the other shore where I could still feel the connection that we have. And while that didn't fix my problem with the loss of his physical presence, it fixed my spirit and gave my spirit something to feel connected to. And that's what's happened with my mother. As I grieve now, the grief washes through me and it leaves me on the side of my awareness where I feel that I'm still connected with her, that I'll always be connected with her, that nothing can break that connection between us. And that's very comforting, even though I still feel the empty place that belongs to her at my table. So when I was thinking about how to share this with you, I remembered something that I heard long ago. It came from what was called the Peace Conference in 2009, and the Dalai Lama spoke there, and he said something to the effect that the world would be saved by the Western woman. And he went on to talk about how Western women have this amazing combination of resources and freedom so that their desires can take flight, can be made manifest in the world. And this is what I feel so passionate about, is that when I help you activate your living flame, the direction, the purpose, the mission of your life is much more easy to get in touch with, so that this feeling of emptiness or fatigue or just, is this all there is, that dissipates completely in the face of this sense of, I know why I'm here. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I can commit my energy to things that make me feel alive. And as I give my aliveness comes back to me, magnified, so that instead of a cycle of depletion, you live in a cycle of increase. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you give, the more you receive. And I think this is the way that we're meant to live. And I believe that in the hearts of many people, women and men, the solutions that we need for the problems, the institutions that are crumbling, the rot that's being exposed in the news every single day, it has to be that way because it's crumbling. We can see it because it's crumbling. And in the midst of that crumbling, new solutions are being born. And that's a very exciting thing, friends. It's a very exciting thing that new solutions can be born and built into a new structure of living together on this beautiful planet Earth. We don't have to agree. We don't have to even share the same values. It's just important that we understand and respect our differences, and that we find that in our differences, solutions emerge that are actually better than solutions that are born only out of, say, a Western view and not an Eastern view. A solution born out of the marriage of the West and the East and the North and the South and the global oneness, those are better solutions than solutions that are born only on the domination of one nation over other nations. This will never be a permanent solution because there's not one nation on this planet. There are many nations. And somehow, even though our human minds are not very good at imagining it, there is a condition where we can share this planet peacefully together. And in order to find that, it's important that every one of us contribute our piece of the puzzle. And so that's the purpose of what I wanted to talk to you about today, is how important it is that you find your piece of the puzzle, that you are energized and activated by your piece of the puzzle, that you feel empowered to move forward, to bring to birth whatever it is. It can be a very small thing. It can be something that only affects your family members. It can affect your neighborhood or your community or your city or your state or your nation or the hemisphere. There's every piece is needed, no matter its size. The important thing is that you feel inspired to give it, and that you feel empowered to give it, and that you feel motivated and desire to give it. And then your life becomes the masterpiece that it was designed to be. And this, friends, is what I think of as the love part, is that you, in my opinion, you have been created from love. And love has filled you with the seeds of a beautiful expression of itself. And that's true for every human. If you look at a room full of babies and all they are is just infants wrapped in the same color of baby blanket, and they're all asleep, and you have the opportunity to look into every face, all you see is innocence and beauty. You can't even tell for the most part whether it's a male, female, or a male baby or a female baby. You may be able to detect some differences in skin color, but other than that, you don't have any way to know what nation they came from. And this is the foundation of our world, is this innocence. And as we all live in that innocence and come into relationship with that innocence, I believe that a path can be formed of connection. And isn't that what we all want? Isn't loneliness just one of the absolute scourges of our time, that there's never been more people on this planet? There's never been more ways to know about all the people on the planet. And yet somehow all of that knowing and awareness has left many people feeling lonelier than ever and disconnected from the whole. So this love bridge is the way that, in the mystery, in ways that we can't really understand or imagine right now, we can weave our lives together in a beautiful fabric, a tapestry, a symphony of connectedness. So our practice today is about alchemizing loss, because I know from my own deep personal experience, loss can really be a derailer. It can send you in a downward spiral that's very difficult to find your way out of. So if you're in a place where it's safe to do so, either look at yourself in a mirror or imagine yourself in a mirror. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a mirror. If it's looking at yourself in a mirror, if it's safe for you to do that. Imagine looking into your own eyes, and let your gaze be kind as you look into your eyes. Notice a woman that's loved deeply, looking back at you in the mirror, and appreciate her. Appreciate her vulnerability. Appreciate her kindness and her goodness. Now bring to mind a loss, something that you are grieving or have grieved. But don't look to the absence. Look underneath. Look for the love that's there. Notice that the love never went away, even though the body, if this is a living thing, even if a form is gone, that the love that was the creative spark underneath it remains. Feel that eternal connection. Let it get bigger. Let it get brighter. That love, that experience that may be partly an ache and partly a warm feeling of connection, send that signal out into your body right now. Let every cell feel it. That warm feeling of connection to that thing. Let it light up your whole body now. Your cells are listening. They're ready. They're waiting. Send them this signal of connection that's bigger than the signal of grief. And imagine just jumping on a little blood cell and ride it into the center of your heart. Jump off into the center of your heart and imagine that you've come to the place of the living flame. See it burning in front of you. And just imagine this warmth, this loving connection feeding this flame so that it begins to grow brighter and brighter and brighter and bigger and wider and more powerful until it's almost like a furnace. It's so big and bright. And letting it just move way past your heart, move out into the room where you are, in the home or place where you're seated right now, and into your neighborhood and into your community and into your city and into your state and into your nation and into your hemisphere, and let it go all across the globe. Let this flame just feed the love that's in this world. Breathe deeply and let it nourish you. Let it fill you up. Let it sustain you. And notice how your love and your flame are mysteriously intertwined. They've never been separate and they never can be. So I want to leave you with this very important thought. Any loss that you have sustained and grieved is not an evidence of a decline. It's evidence of a deep connection that you had the privilege to experience in one form and are now being called to experience in another form. But this grief hijacker, this decline hijacker, will try to convince you that something is lost. And my invitation to you is to notice that and to take it firmly by the scruff of the neck and just say, no, you're not welcome here. My grief and my love are one, and they always will be. This is what we do at Youthing Secrets. We don't pretend that grief isn't real. We just move past it into a realm where it's not the ultimate reality. I thank you, and I love you, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.